Hey, good afternoon to you. Mark Sutton with HurricaneTrack.com here with your second hurricane outlook and discussion for today, Thursday, July 30th, 2020. Got some very important information to update you on our new tropical storm, Isaias, something like that. We're going to get it before all is said and done. It'll be perfection. Seriously, though, very important changes today. I'm sure you're aware of them. I'm going to break it down and look at it for you and kind of talk about the impacts that we need to expect coming up. We're moving out of this window of what's it going to do, where's it going to be. I mean, there's still those questions to be answered, but now that we have a forming storm, and it is intensifying, and wait till you see what happens to it once it gets away from Hispaniola, now we need to start talking about impacts, and there's a lot of reasons behind that. So let's get right on it, shall we? First, from the National Hurricane Center, and again, how do you pronounce this name? Remember, Isaias, right? That's how you say it. It looks like Isaias, but it's not. It's Isaias, and here's the public advisory on it. And the big headline here, Isaias continues to strengthen, bringing heavy rainfall, tropical storm force winds. It doesn't say it's continuing to strengthen, but it is, because it's forecast to become a hurricane Friday or Friday night. That is explicitly stated now. Pressure down to 999 millibars. Winds are 60 miles per hour. Expect the wind to go up, the pressure to go down. And you notice here, you might hear my child having a good time in the bathroom. We all just got back from the pool a little while ago. If you hear screaming, that's what that is. It is moving off to the northwest, or 310 degrees on a compass, at a pretty brisk pace of 20 miles per hour. Changes with this statement, watches and warnings. Government of the Bahamas, tropical storm warning for the northwest Bahamas. No hurricane watches yet, but it's probably coming, and additional watches or warnings may be required for a portion of the Florida Peninsula. And, you know, the whole of the Bahamas is already covered. We'll look at the tracking map in just a moment. Here's what I want to show you right here. The hazards affecting land. Very important. Storm surge now building as this gets stronger, 3 to 5 feet above tide levels in areas with onshore flow in the central and northwest Bahamas. Wind, I think that speaks for itself. All right, rainfall. Isaias expected to bring more rain across Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, northern Haiti, 4 to 8 inches, with isolated maximum totals of a foot. And in the Bahamas, 4 to 8, Cuba, 1 to 2 inches, isolated 4 inches. So remember, please remember, don't get caught up in whether or not it's a hurricane and how strong it might be and thinking about the wind. Think about it from the impact perspective. And this spells that out for you very, very clearly. Rainfall, storm surge, wind, etc. Surf, and that is a big thing I want to address here, and we're going to get into that in a moment when we look at the geography of where this is headed. But the swells that Isaias is going to generate are going to be a problem, and especially with people heading to the beach along the southeast coast of the United States. That's my biggest worry this weekend, because most of the day, and certainly all of yesterday, very few people were concerned about this in terms of a big deal. Now that it looks like it's going to be intensifying, people are going to be heading to the beach starting tomorrow, and we're going to address that in just a moment. I see a lot of problems potentially arising as people start to head to the beach. So this is a very good piece of information here, the public advisory. That's what we've been reading. And scroll down to that hazards affecting land. It's very, very helpful. Please take advantage of that. That's what it's there for. All right, let's go back to the home page and look at the track map, because it does outline the watches and warnings real quick. There it is. So tropical storm watch for parts of southeast Florida. We can zoom in here. And warnings all through the rest of the islands over here, as you would expect. Eventually, I think we're going to see hurricane watches go up. That makes sense. And that is going to start to encompass this part of the coast, maybe farther up the coast than we would like to see. I'll show you why in a moment. The modeling is becoming increasingly concerning as of late. All right, this is a big reason why we're getting worried about this. The structure of it has greatly improved since yesterday. This big old inflow tail right here, if not for Hispaniola, this would really start to crank tonight. Instead, it's going to have a little bit of a delay as it moves off to the northwest here Again, that's about 310 degrees on a compass. That's roughly what the heading is as I try to draw that in. And it's going to start to really strengthen over here in the southeast Bahamas. But this signature here, this very strong inflow tail, the banding that's going on over here, the outflow in the upper levels of the atmosphere going out this way, the warm water temperatures, we've talked about this, the southwest Atlantic these last few years, if you think about 2016 on, especially 17, that gave us Irma, and 16 was Matthew. This part of the Atlantic basin seems to really spawn these vicious hurricanes as of late. Dorian, the most recent example, last year as it cruised into the Bahamas after sidestepping around Puerto Rico and then heading off in this direction. You remember what happened. It's not exactly like that path, but you remember something else, all right? Another issue here to keep in mind, these very heavy rain bands with lightning still going across less and less over the Virgin Islands, but still over Puerto Rico, and that's going to continue through the night as this pulls away. Some people are without power down there, have been since yesterday. If we look at the San Juan radar, there you go. Again, the Virgin Islands, just a few scattered showers here and there. Helps if you can see it through my telestration. But this will be coming to an end. But these bands right here coming up not far from, or maybe even over San Juan. Some of these coming up closer to Ponce over here. And that's going to continue. Flooding is definitely happening. The river valleys, etc., those rivers fill up very quickly, the mountainous terrain here. And this is one of the hazards that I talk about. Puerto Rico doesn't have to be hit by a hurricane to have major problems. The infrastructure there already very fragile, especially in the wake of Maria, now coming up 3 years ago, but it doesn't matter. It's still fragile. And this just comes along and kind of knocks you back a little bit. Several people that I know are down there, including one of our crowdfunding supporters via Patreon, Carlos. He's down there, and he's been telling me what's been going on. It's not the worst thing ever. It's not Maria, but you don't have to have Maria to cause significant problems. Luckily, this will be abating in the coming hours, and things will begin to improve. A real quick glance at some of the model plots here, just to give you a general idea. This is what the afternoon guidance was showing, 1800 UTC. And the general curve here, fairly tightly clustered for a track in the vicinity of, just offshore of Florida. Where have we seen that before? And then through the Carolinas, the Mid-Atlantic, and maybe, for the first time in a long time, an implied threat here to the northeast. How this pans out is going to be huge. It really will. And it's hard to know for sure right now. It could gradually pull east a little bit more, and the northeast and mid-Atlantic are off the hook. Or we could be looking at a track where it goes right up the east coast into some major population centers, including the potential for direct impacts for New York City, Boston. I'm not kidding. The guidance is suggesting that, especially when we look at the ensemble guidance, and that's right here. This is a great package. You've got the operational models, which is kind of like asking one person what they think about something. Then the ensemble guidance is like asking a lot of people what they think about something. You get a bunch of varying opinions, and that's what these stragglers are over here. These outliers might be, just as an example. But you also want to look at the mean, like the whole story. You know what I mean? And that's what this shows us, and we'll outline it in, let's use blue. The overall envelope right here, the house is falling apart. Now it's the child in the shower. And it throws me off. That's fine. This is the ECMWF 12Z ensemble package, and the black line is I believe the ensemble mean, if I am not mistaken. Could be the operational, but I think it's the mean, the average. And so what do we see? Well, let's zoom in. All right, so we see that the ensemble, I believe, again, the black line here is the ensemble mean, does make landfall over Florida. It's so much like Dorian, it's just uncanny. Then another landfall over here in southeast North Carolina, cutting up the coast, and still a formidable cyclone. It may not be as powerful, but bringing impacts all the way into and across big population areas. And even though Manhattan, New York City, etc. is over here, you still would have a system that could, and look, some of the members come right up over there. So we really have to watch this. The ensemble guidance helps us a lot. That's the ECMWF. How about the GFS ensemble? Same thing. The black line is the ensemble mean, the average. Again, it's like asking one person versus asking a bunch, and you get a consensus. And this black line right here that I'm going to outline in purple is the average of asking all those people what they think. That's a good way to look at this. So the GFS and the Euro are in remarkable agreement. You got to admit. Okay? And so we need to take that to heart. European and GFS ensembles, wow. All right, let's talk about impacts. First up, as this comes out of the Caribbean, centered over here now, swells are going to start coming out towards the southeast coast. And what else is going to be happening? A lot of people are heading down to the beach from interior parts of our country. All right? Pandemic notwithstanding, people are still vacationing. They're all going down to the beach, and they're going to get in the water. They're going to start coming tomorrow. They're going to hear about this and be like, I'm not canceling my plans, and there's no reason for them to. Not yet. So all these people are headed to the beach in all these areas where massive swells are going to start coming in, and even the ones that aren't massive are going to be big enough to cause problems if you're not extremely careful. So I don't want to hear about any loss of life for people in the surf. Can you do that for me? Seriously. This is the number one easiest thing to prevent, is to be careful in the frickin' surf so that you don't drown. Don't let your little ones out there. The waves are really going to be neat to see. This is going to be increasing, especially towards Sunday. All right? People are still going to be down at the beach. Please, 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 this is not hype. This is not fear-mongering. This is be freaking careful. I'm trying not to use bad words here, but I got to motivate you guys. No deaths from surf problems. Okay? Can we start with that? And we can move on from there. Seriously. This is an easily preventable situation with the surf coming up. From there, what can we expect? Obviously, impacts in the Bahamas, where they really don't need it, especially in this area. It goes without saying. My screaming daughter agrees, and she's fine. She's having a good time in the shower. Mom's helping her. Mom's getting ready for work. I know you can hear it. I've got a really good microphone. But nevertheless, as it goes to the Bahamas, probably going to be a hurricane. From there, we're just going to have to wait and see. You know the drill. Florida, going to be another nail biter. Up here, probably going to have a landfall. At least that's what it looks like now. But you know what? Everything can change, and it ends up doing one of these numbers. It could change, and it comes up and does something like that. We know what happens with these forecasts. I mean, we're talking about only a few days out total. This is day 5 right here. This is day 4. In 96 hours, we learned, hopefully from Dorian, a lot can change. All right? So here is my best advice for you if you're worried about it. Don't get too worried. Don't get too upset. And I know that's, again, so easy for Mark to say. But remember, if you don't know this, I live in Wilmington, North Carolina. My house is only a few miles from the ocean. I can have damage. I'm not going to have storm surge. And I'm not going to have trees fall on my house because our cookie-cutter neighborhood doesn't have very many trees. But I can have my roof blown off. There could be tornadoes. Okay? There are impacts that can affect me. My family, my screaming child in the bath over there, we have to worry about that just like you do. The guy that tracks the hurricanes is just as vulnerable as everyone else. So I speak from experience. I empathize with you. That being said, don't be upset. Be educated, be aware, and have purpose. Have purpose that you're going to go and do something today. A little bit of shopping, a little extra, a few more gallons of water, maybe fill up a couple of gas cans. Do something today if you're in that cone of uncertainty. All right? And that's about it. Tomorrow, do a little bit more. If you haven't done all this stuff yet, that's how you proceed. Don't sit around biting your nails, trying to read what everybody else is saying on social media and figure this thing out on your own. That's wasted time. I've already done all these things, and I'm not trying to sound like, oh, Mr. Mark, give you a trophy. I did. I've got my stuff ready, and I'm good. I'm going to start getting ready to cover it from a professional standpoint. So I've got most of my preparations out of the way. All right? Still got a couple things to do. I want you to do the same thing. because it'll help you to be less stressed. All right? Do a little tonight because a bunch of people are coming to the beach tomorrow, and once they get word of this and it really starts to ramp up, it's like the movie Jaws, and I've said this before. Right now, Tropical Storm Isaias, it's hard to pronounce. I don't even know what that is, right? That's what they're going to be saying. Hurricane, whatever it's called, that's a different story. Like Barracuda versus Shark in that classic movie Jaws. When word gets out tomorrow that it becomes a hurricane, people will hear that over Tropical Storm, and you're going to start running out of time. So you've got the luxury of my experience and your experience dealing with these things in the past. Put all of that to good use and do something now, a little bit more tomorrow, and you'll be a lot better off. All right? And each day along the way, we will talk about impacts as they become clearer. All right, I am on Twitter at HurricaneTrack. Please follow there. I will be tweeting very often, especially as things ramp up and we're out in the field, because that looks like that's coming. Obviously, I'm on YouTube, HurricaneTrack. Subscribe, set your notifications on to be notified when I post an update. We are supported by our awesome crowdfunding group. It's not a subscription service like you pay money and you get something. It's a cooperative. If you want to learn more about it, patreon.com/HurricaneTrack. The link is in the description of today's video. And yes, there are benefits. Of course, you help me to support what I'm doing. I provide back to you something that nobody else in the world does. And that is a fact. I mean, if you've known what I've done for all these years, you would agree to that. I think we've got something incredible here, and it is supported by our patrons and our crowdfunding group. That is remarkable. So if you want to join that cause, that's how you do so. And it helps me to produce all of this stuff, 90% of it absolutely free to the public. So there's my pitch about that. All right, I'll be on top of it. Lots of ways to follow. And by the way, if you're on Patreon, same thing applies. Please set your notifications to let you know when I've posted something, because I post almost everything there first, and then on public stuff, even just a few minutes later, I do try to put it on Patreon first to give you the benefit of helping me out by supporting what I'm doing. Just a little heads up there. Have a great rest of your evening. When you're done watching me, go do something to get ready for this potential hurricane, all right? And as always, thank you for tuning in from your device. I much appreciate it. I'm Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com. I'll be back with more for you starting tomorrow morning.